Okay, hey everyone. Um, we'll start the run now then. I don't really know how to properly introduce myself, but hi, I'm Rui. Here to showcase gadget racers, also known as penny racers, also known as Choro Q HG. This game has a lot of games. I'll just get started with it though in 3, 2, 1, go.
Best of luck.
All right. Sorry if the start was a little bit scuffed there, Viper.
That's alright.
Okay, so right at the start of the run, we have to get some boring stuff out of the way, unfortunately. In order to take part in the actual Grand Prix races, we have to obtain licenses. And to do licenses, we have to do driving tests. So we have sort of loaner cars in this little segment of the run where we just sort of quickly do some quick tests, just sort of like turning or like testing, turning, braking, stuff like that. I guess it's sort of in aims to sort of showcase what races would have, but to be honest, when we actually get to the races, you'll see that they're not quite as simple as the tracks on these, but you know, it's a way to, I suppose, introduce to the game. These do take a little while, unfortunately, especially the first two cars. This one doesn't feel too bad. The handling on it is like fairly good, but by the time we get to the second car, you're gonna hit me in pain. It's a rough way to start the run, to be honest. Who punched these cars? Yeah, so this game, I believe, is meant to be sort of based off a toy in Japan. They're like little cars that you like put quarters on the back of, like push them backwards, and they like start driving off on their own. I think that's why it was called like penny racers in Europe and the UK. In America, they called it gadget racers, which does make somewhat sense. You'll see some stuff later in the run why it might be called gadget racer. But Choro Q is like the actual brand of the name, I think, for Japan. And it's based off like real cars. Before we actually started, I was testing Viper to see what cars he was able to name. Shout outs to anyone in chat that can guess the loaner cars in this. But yeah, no. Yeah, this game is kind of like based off from real cars, but there are some like car models in the game that are just sort of like for fun. I feel like it's fairly, well, I can't say fairly realistic because it's meant to be cartoony, but like you'll see later in the run, you have to like upgrade parts of the car like you would sort of like a real life car sort of thing. Yeah, so the naming schemes of the Choro Q games as well, it's very weird. I think the US does have a Penny Racers, but I think the Penny Racers in the US is an N64 game, which is a part of the franchise still. But like, yeah, it's really hard to like map out everything with like the releases of these games. I think it changed to sort of just gadget racers in Europe for some of the other games. This is sort of like one of the early PS2 games that is like fairly different from the rest of the Choro Q games that released on PS2. The Choro Q games usually are based on like it's like a car RPG style. But this one is sort of like one that focus mainly on racing. which like kind of doesn't represent the series fully, but there'll be some parts in the run that like I doubt many racing games really have. But yeah, we're getting close to finishing the first license, which is a relief because I really want to get to the part where I can show off my cars. But yeah.
I could probably jump in with a bit of stuff. Apologies.
Hi. No, it's alright.
So
I was just trying
I've
to
seen
read.
this first. This first car. It looks very much like a Nissan Skyline, GTR. I think it's 2000 GTR 2000, 1970s model. By the looks of it.
I think I do have a list somewhere on my notes that actually does confirm. There's another runner that runs the game, Zona. He's done a ton of research on this game. And like the route that we're going to be like following out wouldn't exist without him. So he's definitely recorded a lot down for this. But do you recognize this car though, Viper?
I do. It's like a Jeep Wrangler or something. I want to say 90s.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm not sure with the Jeeps, but something like that.
I don't know too many like car models myself, but like it does look like a Jeep. So I'll just trust your word for it.
It's definitely a Jeep. I just don't know if it's a Wrangler or not. That's the only catch. Could be anything, really, though. Yeah. It's a Jeep of some kind. I know that. It's a 4x4. It's a Jeep. That's all. It's a box.
Penny Races video games N64. Yeah. Which I haven't actually played the N64 game. Maybe I had to come back another year with that one. But yeah, no, this was the first of the high grade series of games. Hence why it's called HG. But they don't really always stick to this style. Like the actual car models always stick to this style, but I want to say like graphically, this is probably like the most in depth it's been in the series. I feel like Gene will eventually come along and actually say no, Road Trip looks better, but there was NA PC it's pretty decent. Yeah, that should be just this game, I'm pretty sure. Unless if there was like multiple releases of Gadget Racers. But yeah, no, Gadget Racers in the UK. It's PS1. It's one of the PS1 titles.
It is weird. Yeah. It is a weird series because it's like a case of, imagine, if you will, racing games, but then the cars are all, as people have been saying, like, it's that, but it's squished. The cars are all squished.
Yeah, it's even weirder with the other titles, though. I would say this one's probably, like, the most tame. With all the others being car RPGs, seeing, like, the cars talk and all that. It's very odd, but, all the games do have sort of, like, kind of the same theme to them. Accessorizing, we'll see, sort of, like, happen later on. It's pretty much a thing that every game has. And it was certainly, like, the part of the game that, like, made me interested of this as a kid. I don't want to spoil too much until we get there, but yeah, no, if for anyone that's like into sort of like looking at sort of like different car models and stuff, this game does have like, or like all the games actually does have quite a wealth of like different car models, and I'd say like shows them off in a pretty cool way that kind of like appeals to kids. I guess it's kind of like the chibi factor of like having things squished down. Yeah, I go quiet whenever like going in menus, by the way, just because, especially later on when the run actually starts, it gets kind of difficult to remember what to press, especially when not playing in English. I play in JP because the controls on the Japanese version is like slightly bit sharper, I feel like, and there's less delay. I'm not too sure like what changes they made to sort of the NA release of the game. But both me and the other runner who's put a lot of time into this both agree that this is pretty much like the smoothest feeling like version of the game to play. So if anyone ever plans to pick this up in the future, definitely try and get your hands on a JP copy. But I originally started out on PAL, and like most games, unfortunately, PAL kind of just gets the rough end of the stick with like frame rate conversions, making things a bit slower. I'm pretty sure it's like exact to the frame as well. I don't think they like sped up any like animations or like the car speeds at all when making the EU version. So playing penny races, unfortunately, is kind of the slowest version of this. This bit of the game, though, the third license, I love this car. Towards the end of the run, our car will be pretty much driving at this speed, if not faster. Obviously, this is just the loner for now, but yeah, this type of racing is pretty much how it's going to look towards the end of the game, although the end of the game has some very difficult tracks, which hopefully I'll be able to finish first in all of them. But it is kind of a coin toss sometimes.
I will say as well, the car that's being driven, it's a Ferrari Testarossa, I think it is. It's very similar to the one that you can see in Miami Vice, the 80s cop TV show.
Nice, nice.
That'd get me car knowledge in there somewhere.
No, I appreciate it. I really wish I had the car knowledge, but yeah, no. For me, this game is just sort of like it's childhood racing to me. I love it.
Did you just see another car as well? Lancia Stratos. Yeah, Lancia Stratos as well. Oh.
Yeah, I should have asked for the off-road cars as well. You get different car models in this bit of the game. They both have like the same stats though, all the same parts. The one half of like the license is meant to like represent on-road driving, and the other half off-road driving. To be honest, there's not too much of a difference on the field during the tests, but when you actually get to like the main game part, you have to like change out tires, or in casual play you would. We'll be doing something later on though, which means we could just stick with the same one tire, to be honest. But yeah, no, getting close to finishing off the licenses, I'm gonna start getting into what I would consider the meats of the run. So straight after this, I'll need to like focus up a little bit just to buy some parts for my car. Gotta be really careful to buy the right parts, so just be a second. Alright, so towards the end of that like buying bit, I oh, that was misclick. Towards the end of the buying there, I changed sort of the engine and like wheel configuration. Forgetting which part to equip there. We like immediately want to change that at the start of the run, just because changing sort of the configuration of the car helps so much with handling. Without doing that, like the standard configuration that a car comes with, it's very hard to like turn off. But this is our car now. We've just equipped it with a new engine, new gearbox, and a front spoiler. That's just to sort of like get us started off with races. During this part of the run, we're just sort of trying to build up cash so that we can upgrade our car to start taking part in the tournaments. And then, yeah, we just focusing on earning money right now mostly. At the very start of the race, you want to be careful not to hit any cars nearby, because towards the end of the race, you'll see sort of us earning like cash for our race basically. And if we hit nobody during the race, we get sort of bonus cash. The sprints are like kind of the casual grindy bits of the game. But yeah, how games gets to sharp with console games in general. Yeah, it's a rough reality to live in. I would have stuck with PAL for longer, just because I do prefer like playing on like proper original hardware without sort of modding it. But with every racing game or speedrunning game, I should say. No, I'll stick to that. Racing games. Yeah, it's pretty much the case that you always just had to switch to NTSC. I will say, like, just because I'm on the Japanese version of the game, it doesn't mean that you have to run on the Japanese version. It's more just a preference thing, I guess. You can exit out of menus a little bit faster on the Japanese menus, but for a game that's been, like, fairly untouched like this, I wouldn't say it's really necessary to like get started with runs. This level's fairly unique, by the way. It's a first level we really race in, where we're racing underwater. That will be sort of like more noticeable later on. You'll see sort of like different weird elements tracks will have. But you can get parts in this game to sort of help with sort of driving in water better. You can get like propellers, you can get floats. Sadly, we're not going to really get much to help with us driving in the water in this run. The only thing that we really get that helps with this is just better engines. If you got a better engine, sort of the better acceleration sort of helps with keeping top speed in the water. I don't know sort of how realistic that is, sort of thing, but just sort of part of the game physics, I suppose. Go ahead to the shop again though to get a CPU real quick, which boosts us top speed up a little bit more as well. This is the only CPU that we're going to be getting in the game though. For the most part, we're going to be relying on cheaper parts to make our car faster. So we got 2 more sprint races we got to do. These ones will be fairly long ones. That's mostly to help us unlock a better shop. So we won't be going to the better shop immediately after this. But sort of the more you drive in the game records sort of like how many kilometers you have been driving, and then we'll have sort of unlockables related to that. So you can take part in more races, you can buy more things from different shops. yeah, there's a lot of things you get out of it. Level is kind of awkward with its turns, but in general, the sprint races aren't too sort of high stress. In fact, like the very start of the run is like fairly chill for the most part. It's just making sure you don't crash into anyone. It's not the biggest like thing if you do crash. There are like backups. You could just do another race to earn money, but obviously for like getting through the game fast, like money efficiency is pretty important in this stage. Over mum with car sick. Yeah. Gosh, that was really bad turning. With how I'm sort of like controlling the controller right now, by the way, I'm being like quite light in my turnings just because at the moment we don't really have like very good parts for like control and stuff, and it's only going to get worse later on during the game. Turn like too rough, you start spinning out, and you spin out, you start losing speed. But it's like really easy to spin out in this game. With like friends that have sort of tried playing this a little bit in the past, they've always told me sort of like the controls are a little bit off. But yeah, gravity in this game is key, you know. Yeah. It's pretty fun though, you get used to it. Yeah, this level I don't get used to though. This is going to be the bane of my existence later on. It's fine for now because we're going at a low speed. But ice levels, we can get parts to help us with sort of traveling in this level better. You would expect tires, but actually it's sliders or like skis that we put on our cars. I shouldn't say too much because it's kind of weird to see later on and kind of cool. But yeah, no, we'll be getting sort of like different things to help us like make this more like bearable sort of thing.
I do want to ask you a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So from the looks of it, it's very arcadey in terms of handling by the looks of it.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So my next question is, regarding that, is that with it being like arcadey sort of handling, obviously you've got different surfaces that you drive on, so like ice, snow, mud, water, you know, and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does it suit it quite well, would you say, given the handling model?
Like whether like having different driving environments in this game sort of like makes it better or worse.
Yeah.
I've kind of like gone into the mindset of speedrunning it, so I want to say no. Just because, in terms of like routing and stuff, it does make sort of what you buy fairly awkward. Sorry, 1 second. I just got to focus up here for a second. No, I feel like if like every level was sort of like the same-ish. I'm forgetting buttons. If every level was sort of like the same-ish, with just all on-road surfaces, I feel like the game would be fairly easy. But the different environments is what makes the game hard. You'll sort of like notice it as we're going into the Grand Prix because, or Grand Prix, sorry, saying words wrong. Because the rules of racing kind of changes in this section. So we got endurance we had to keep track of now. and the weather elements and all that, or like the surface elements, sort of affects the endurance a lot. You want to make sure that you don't like crash as much, because otherwise that will damage your chassis. The more you drive without going to pit stop, like the worse your handling will be. And sort of, I'm pretty sure it is programmed in a way that like, if you haven't adjusted your car for like the race properly, you're gonna have like worse a time enduring the race. So like the tires that we're using right now, it's racing tires, so it's fairly fine. Actual name for it is soft racing tires, I'm pretty sure. No, high grip racing tires. That's the name of the part. In sort of like casual playthrough, you would be sort of changing out the tires constantly. So I'm pretty sure straight after this race is an off-road race. Oh no, it's an on-road and then it's off-road again. Yeah. I'd say it just adds more elements to the game. Yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's too bad to deal with. But yeah, no, we got endurance on the top left corner now. People probably noticed that the tires are turning orange. And sort of like the redder that goes from green to red, the more I want to be careful with my turning. Spin out during this race and you've pretty much lost. They're constantly on my tail on the minimap right now. But for the most part, like beginning cup, it's not too bad. It's like the last frustrating bit of the run, but it's very frustrating later on. You have to wait for every other racer to finish the race before you can go to the next one. It can take quite a bit of time sometimes, but yeah, I just need to go to the shop one last time. We got this new shop here, and we're going to be picking up that one. I was almost worried I picked the wrong one out. So yeah, it's just a higher gearbox. We can go to 5th gear now, and we're going to go shop one last time to tune up our car. Tune-ups are kind of like a temporary upgrade. They'll like boost the handling, the top speed, the acceleration of the car, as long as you don't change out the parts. So it kind of helps when speedrunning, because we don't want to be changing out our parts, because that spends time. Plus it would mean we need like better parts for it. Instead, we'll just be sort of, for the most part, relying on sort of the boosts that tuning up gives us. Saw someone earlier say about this car going 280 kilometers per hour. It's only going to get higher, unfortunately. Okay. Alright, so that was a good dive. This race, to be fast, it's like not too bad to like control through the rest of the map. For the most part, it's just however we dive into the water. When driving on like surfaces, just in general, you want to sort of be like flat on the ground at all times, just because it helps you get to top speed quicker. Unless if you're going down like a slope, in that case, like you go faster because just, you know, gravity being a thing. That was very good. Wow. But yeah, this level you kind of want to, in water it's like the opposite effect. You want to be in the like, or above ground, like as much as possible in water, so that you're not having the traction of the ground. As soon as like the wheels touch the ground in water, you'll start slowing down. So the way we try and sort of like dive into it is to make sure that we just like stay in the air as much as possible. Although that time wasn't that good, unfortunately. You can see the other cars, they're blowing off smoke at the moment. Signifies that they've been hit too much. You don't ever sort of like fully break down in this game, but if you ever get to the point like them cars were at, your acceleration and top speed is just going to get completely screwed over. We'll almost never have that issue in the beginning races. That becomes mainly an issue for us towards like the last races. But right now it's fairly chill time. The only thing that's not so chill is the fact that our tyres are burning hot. But even then, handling at like this speed isn't too bad. You just gotta be careful not to like overturn too much. If you overturn, you lose speed. That's fun.
I think this is the only time I've seen any racing game that a Toyota Yaris can do 290 kilometers plus. Pink one to be exact. Reminds me a lot of so like one of the key things that Gran Turismo 3 was famous for was one of the prize cars you can win is a pink Yaris. And it's quite a popular meme, Gran Turismo 3. So to see it like take center stage in this one's quite funny.
Yeah. No, there's a selection of cars you can pick out at the start. So you could like make a meme out of any car if you really wanted. I think if it wasn't for like specific hidden stats, I would have went for Volkswagen Beetle just because I like the look of that better. But it's weird. This game, it doesn't tell you this in the manual or anything, but there are hidden stats on the car as well. So this car, and there's another one on the list. I forget which. They are like body type 1, which means they are lighter cars and have better acceleration, and that's just like always better. It's never like too big to be really noticeable. If I was to choose like the Volkswagen Beetle, I don't think the run would look too much different. It's just like a very minor change to be like optimal. But yeah, on your way to McDonald's, hell yeah. Now they do have like proper like sports car models in this as well, but like all the beginning like car models you can choose are like, you know, just what I would call the family car, you know. But yeah, this level, it's our first like level that's really off-road. But the turns are like basically non-existent on this level. It's just one big loop. So you're not going to really see like much of the effects of like, you know, what the tires really do. We go up that hill to get like a little bit of a sharp turn, and we'll like ditch that later on just for like better control. But yeah, for the most part, this level's fairly fine, and I'm pretty sure the rest are. Little, I'm not gonna say worried because it's not hard the next level, but like the turns and whatnot do get a little bit more drastic. But sort of with the early change that we made to our car, like the different configuration for handling, it helps a lot. So. Sadly, there's not too much I can really say for this level, so I've been yapping quite a bit. If you've got any questions, Viper, it'd probably be a great time.
Yeah, I think I've probably got a few that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we mentioned it before, but the I'm trying to remember what the name of the game was. You mentioned it earlier. The one for the PS2, the car challenge one, the little Diddy one, Diddy cars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what it was called, but this gives me a lot of them vibes with it. It's not a game that I've played. I own it. I own said game in question, but can't remember. But is it a case of the developers for that game were the same as this one? As in, like, they made this before they made that. I forget what it's called. It was like, is it Sports Car Challenge or something? I forget what it was called.
I can't remember you
Road Trip
mentioning.
Challenge.
Oh,
That
Road
one.
Trip
That one.
Adventure.
Then. Road Trip Adventure. Thank you. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's the case that Midas developed this, but it's owned by Takara. I don't know how much like on-hand development was for this game. Unfortunately, I don't really know if that's been like recorded down anywhere. But yeah, no, it's within the same series. I think Road Trip Adventure in Japan is Choro Q HG3, I want to say. Or it might be HD4. But it's the same like franchise sort of thing. But yeah, no, it's kind of odd because like the two games kind of like look similar. But this one's kind of like
definitely feels the same.
Yeah. Graphically though, when like you look at the two games, it feels like Road Trip Adventure sort of like it's a bit more like the PS1 titles. Probably just because of how big it was though. This is like the outlier in the franchise for like how it looks. But yeah, no, it's technically the same franchise, but like it like skips out on like the main thing that I would say makes the franchise unique, which is the car RPG thing. But yeah, no, I'm not too sure why they exactly scrapped it, but I feel like this game, especially for like when it came out, was like really early in PS2 life. I feel like it had a good showing for the franchise. Would have been interested if they like stayed to this art style a little bit more. Got another race coming up now.
I was gonna say, well, in terms of like other questions as well. So, obviously, we mentioned about the Japanese release and everything like that, and whatnot. But how many games was there in the Choro Q series, roughly, if you know?
There were some GBA games, and N64 kind of had its own lineup of games. Oh, jeez. One second. Once I'm ahead of the pack here, it's not too bad, but there we go. Alright. Yeah, I'm not too sure, like I think the PS2 had 4 games. Whether they all released like internationally or not, I'm not exactly too sure. Because again, the naming scheme of the games is just so odd. And it's not like particularly like popular franchise either. But yeah, no, there's definitely 4 on the PS2. I want to say there was 2 on the PS1. But there are sort of other games out there as well. It's something I'll probably have to like properly look into sometime. It's a shame he's not in chat right now, but surprisingly Gene, he knows quite a lot about this franchise. He just sort of seems to always know the odd things.
Gene's actually the person that put me in contact with you.
Yeah, I'm very grateful being a part of this. I know this is not pre-2000s, but it feels awesome to actually showcase this off.
Just scraped in. We managed to get Sim R2 in as well, so it's not the only game in here that was like, oh, should that be in here? Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, we got a Ridge Racer 4 later as well, don't we? That's sort of like the other game that I was like super hoping to see tonight, so I can't wait to see when that's showcased off.
Should be good. Should be good. I know that like, so all the key things. Okay, so I just go get mentioned. So as someone that played PS1 racing games back in like the 90s and everything, I think it was a case of there was a lot of different games that came out in the 1990s, and when I was playing racing games growing up, there was a lot of games that only just now, I think, I'll be honest, thanks to this event, that I'm like, wait, this is an interesting concept. You know, games you've never heard of before. Like, I hate to say it, but this is the kind of game that I genuinely like to play.
Yeah.
Just to genuinely like, play it through, maybe even run it, but I know that earlier on you mentioned about emulation and that sort of thing not being really allowed and whatnot, but...
Oh, that was before we went live, but yeah.
I think it was.
I can explain that in a bit.
It's far though.
Well, it's just right now on an emulator, technically it's not legal just because of we're not too sure if this game emulates too accurately. Right now, it seems pretty normal to how I'd play it on a PS2, but sort of we're being very cautious about it. But you're saying about other games, sort of that like you just haven't really seen. Viper?
I'm actually wondering, you know. Oh, well, I say I wonder. It won't ever happen, but imagine, imagine if it was like a PS4 or PS5 version remake of one of these games.
That'd be very interesting. I don't know if they.
I'd be intrigued of like,
Yeah, there was a game that came out that was like very much in this style, but it wasn't actually developed by the same people. I remember a friend showing that off to me. Because he was just like, oh, this is like the game you run. But yeah, no, I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it's still like a toy in Japan, like the Choro Q cars. But yeah, no, I have no idea if they would enter the game's market again.
I mean, the closest we've got to a game like this, except it's not really... I mean, it's cutesy, and the cars aren't, like, too realistic, is Victory Heat Rally, which was released in the indie game market.
That might have been
by the way, would recommend it. If you've not played it and you like this sort of game, I highly recommend picking that up. Fun game.
Giant
It is more... Funnily enough, I'd say it probably does match this as well to some extent, because even though it's not a Japanese game, its art style with the characters, like they feel very anime looking sort of thing. So I do think it would actually work as like a modern version.
Giant wheels. At some point, I'm gonna wish that I had the giant wheels, because they're basically just, you know, off-road monster truck wheels essentially. Pretty funny that you could put that on a car. This level, I'm gonna be driving very badly towards the end of this, and there's just nothing I can do about it. The endurance on the wheels in this level like become way noticeable. Specifically the turn just there. Yeah, it gets very awkward. Most realistic racing game makes Lego Racers. I do love Lego Racers. It's a good game. I suppose that's something as well for like a game of like this, like I want to say cutesy style. It's kind of surprising that items like never became a concept in this game, because I feel like this was definitely aimed towards like kids, and like Crash Bandicoot Racing, Mario Kart, Lego Racers, they all had like power-ups and stuff. But yeah, no, I want to say this is like probably more like. Would you say this is like Gran Turismo, Viper?
Nowhere near.
Not
It's
not like aesthetic wise, but like
no.
gameplay-wise.
I'd say from looking at it, it is more of a case of. It's a weird mix. Like you said, it's like a mix between kart racers, like you said, Crash Team Racing, that sort of thing, and then a real car game, like I say real car game, but like a car has like licensed cars in it, like Gran Turismo. It's like a weird mix. It's very much in the same sort of market as this is going to be a stretch, but in the modern day, the closest we probably got to something like this is maybe something like Blur. Was the last game I remember in the modern day where it was like this. Whereas back in the 90s when they were trying something new every 5 minutes, it was like, yeah, it is like a weird mix between, I'd say, Crash Team Racing and Gran Turismo,
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, you're not playing this game for the realism, let's be honest. You're playing it because it's a case of, if it was, my god, we have had a culture shock and a half. But, it works. It works, does the job.
Are you telling me this isn't your usual experience going to McDonald's? What?
Hot Champs in Vauxhall Courses and Toyota Garages. Yeah, I'm sure this is definitely like going Mackey's.
Oh, we haven't even like seen the weirder part yet. You haven't seen what the thing on top of the car does yet. That's fun. I'll say, unfortunately, the Grand Prix races as well, like, they're great. They don't show off like some of the more wackiest stuff in this game.
In Europe's covered then. Oh, they drive in Japan.
Yeah, true.
Got that. Yeah, they drive underwater, they drive on land, they drive everywhere, Japan.
CTR's second favourite. Yeah, CTR's a great time.
The ice levels do remind me a lot of... Now, this is going to be funny to say. Reminds me a lot of Crash Bandicoot 2's Polar Bear levels. I don't know why, it's just the same.
No, like, with how rough Polar is to control, that is roughly how it feels to control this car, so... Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's accurate enough.
Just need the music now for Polar Bear.
Yeah, and this bit here, what's happening right now, where we're just waiting. This is like the only aspect where I get like hesitant to recommend this game to anyone, because you do have to wait a fairly lengthy time sometimes. This isn't the worst of it yet. It gets so much worse later on, but like in actual speed runs of this, we cut this time out. So if I was actually like comparing this race to like my PB, it's probably awful. But yeah, like my actual PB like runs 5 minutes faster than this. Not 5 minutes, 5 seconds. That's the measurement I want to use. But yeah, nah. If there was a way to like just skip this, it would be so much nicer. Hot Wheels race. There is a Hot Wheels game I need to revisit at some point. It's on the PS2 as well, but yep, you do need a bit of patience with this game. But It is like fairly chill to just race along to. Like, I've been able to
I have
sort
to
of like,
admit, the menu design. The menu design reminds me of Lock Ridge Racer, and then the amount of downtime you get is actually great because it's like, oh, I need the toilet. Oh, that's all right. I finished the race.
yeah. No, if
So
you
there
ever
is a
need like a
plus.
sip of coffee or anything, it's totally fine. Also, that just now gliders. I wish we used gliders more, but for this level specifically, having that glider during that rocky bit, so nice. You can get through that rocky bit, like just maneuvering well, but yeah, it is pain otherwise, especially since like if you crash into stuff, your chassis goes down. Um, Having the glider at this stage and like early on, it's very helpful for races.
Can you flip the car over?
Flip the car over. You can attempt it. Uh, no, the car always lands on its feet. It's like a cat. Its wheels, I should say. Um, but you do get like situations where the car does like tip in really weird spots, especially on this level when you're driving on the roof of the buildings towards the end. Just because the like roof is like considered like a steep slope at times, the gravity in this game just does weird things. I remember this stage from Gran Turismo. Yeah.
It does look familiar, yeah. It's just like, wait a minute. I will be honest as well. It is it is an interesting one.
Yeah.
With how, like you said, with how everything works, with how the setups and everything works. It's just a shame that, like you said, you have to wait after every race. That's the problem. Like you can't
Yeah.
just pause and then exit the race or something once you've finished.
Nah, it teases you if you slow down like the gameplay. Sometimes you can see for split frame it comes up with like the usual race finish sign, but then next frame after that it goes to like the timer leaderboard sort of thing. Yeah, nah, if anyone ever wants to sort of like tinker around with the code of this game to like bypass that, be my guest. It'll make this game so much funner. But it's like it's really the only downside of playing this. So, like I complain about the licenses as well. Licenses, there's actual like optimization to do, so I can't complain too much there. But yeah, I would recommend this, like especially just for like the casual experience, just seeing like what wacky cars you can make, because the speedrun, it skips so much of like just that car's rude, of just like the weird parts of this game. Can I get on the ground? Thanks.
Is there is there not like a new game plus sort of run where you're able to skip all the exit stuff, you know, the end of the race and stuff?
Not yet. I'm not opposed to the idea, I suppose. It's just trying to make a category that like makes sense. I should have mentioned this at the start of doing the Grand Prix. Actually, you're limited to what you can actually use. Doesn't matter right now because we're poor. We can't actually get the good parts, but like technically we should have been able to afford getting sixth gear. You're not allowed to use a gearbox that like takes you to sixth gear. The cups do have limitations on like what parts you can use during it. But yeah, no, in the run, because obviously we just know what parts to get. We don't really have to worry about that restriction too much. I suppose that would be sort of concern with a new game plus run, I guess. how you'd sort of like implement that in. But yeah, we're up to finishing the first Grand Prix. And yeah, I need to get my notes up to figure out what I need to buy next. Get a little fanfare of us winning. And we do unlock a car for split frame. If you know what that car was, congratulations.
One of the cars that's been driving around racing against you, I've just noticed, is a Jaguar XJR-9 from Le Mans. I'm like, what the hell's that car doing in here? It's such a random car. It's not like every other car I've seen. They're like generic, like, regular cars. You have a rally car in there because there's an Alpine A110 rally car in there. But then there's this Jaguar XJR-9. And it's like, it's a race car. Not rally car, not stock car, race car. And that's in there. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Such a weird fit.
I wish I had time to show off, but you can drive all sorts in this game. You can drive as a literal chicken leg if you wanted to. They really had fun with like what models they put in this game. Yeah, and I feel like any sort of like most popular pre-2000s car, I feel like they would have had like some sort of model for it, sort of thing. Racers storm off in this race. They have a much better engine than us, but it's where just having better top speed helps. I'm not using Sith gear, which would help, but there we go. That was actually pretty good. So yeah, at the start of the like second Grand Prix, it's when like things get like a little bit difficult. I say difficult, it's more just the other races are starting to get like better parts, so they're able to catch up more. Yep, more big wheels. Although for this level, the parts that are like painful is this sort of inside bit, and like any other racing game, like you have sections of the race that are like on-road and off-road, and pretty much always the parts that like have awful turning areas are always on-road. So us having on-road tires like during this bit here, like yeah, we're sliding to the side, it doesn't matter. What matters the most is getting through sort of like the tight bit towards the end of the level. You'll notice that we did this level earlier as well during the sprint race. Each level has like 2 versions of itself, so we'll technically be going into this level for a 3rd time during the 3rd Grand Prix, but it'll be looking a little bit different. I should have a quick glimpse to see when. Yeah, technically next race after this is sort of like an alternative version of a race we could have done. But
I will actually say, if the AI is faster, by the way, then they should finish close to you, and it should make the races finish a bit quicker, I guess.
yes. Unfortunately, though, there's nothing we can change about how they drive. They kind of just do.
So basically, if they suck, they suck.
Yeah, this game has absolutely no rubber banding, which is weird. Because even Ridge Racer has like rubber banding, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, no. AI is just sort of like developed to drive however they drive. In some of the later races, there is sort of like a bit of variance on how they do drive. There is a bit of RNG involved. But how you're doing compared to them, they don't care. They're just having their own time. Your
The
ability
AI is
matters.
literally just out for a Sunday drive.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, come on, we're doing a speed run, hurry up! And I was like, well, I get there when I get there.
In RTA anyways, yeah. So I'm not really treating these races too seriously, because I'm pretty sure this is like 6 seconds behind my PB again. But there are races later on where the AI is actually very difficult. There will be a point where I'm gonna struggle a bit, but yeah, no. If you got like the better parts in a race, like you're always going to win. There's no sort of like balancing, I want to say, in this game. I feel like for the most part they sort of like made this to get straight onto the PS2, and then in later Choro Q games I'm pretty sure there is rubber banding. They just skipped out this one, I suppose. Plenty of rubber banding in the next run. Is there rubber banding in Lego Races?
Uh,
There's BS, I know
think
that,
so.
sure. This race, it'll look close, but it's not. It's not close. Because of it just being a loop, it's pretty much just whoever has better top speed, and like the cars in the race like are fairly similar, but like my cars are ever so slightly faster, which just means win. If anything, I think this race probably shows that the most. The fact that there's sort of no AI balancing. Should just maintain first for the rest of this race now. Obviously just keep into tight turns, but
You're probably coming with a bit of car knowledge as well with some of the cars. It's like, what's it called? So, some of the cars that you're racing against, Lancia Stratos, Honda S2000, Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 3, I think it is, rally car. Obviously, garbage truck. I think a Rolls Royce is in there as well, which is one of the purple cars. Lots a few others as well. There is a car in there that looks like a Mercedes SLK 230 compressor, but I don't think it is one of those. Probably miles off, to be honest.
garbage truck
But
is
yeah.
it's just a weird, funny inclusion. It's in every Choro Q game. And in this game specifically, you can unlock the body part for the garbage truck. Like, you can play as a garbage truck if you want to. But the skin that this truck specifically uses is unique to itself, and I have no idea why. So otherwise, just a regular garbage truck is just blue garbage truck. It's no difference. But this has like some sort of sign on the side of it. No idea what it translates to, but it's like the only way you'd see that in the game. And it always finishes last place in every single race in the game. Like, even the sprint races, the garbage truck will always be last. This level, by the way, is the first level where I'm probably going to need to make a pit stop. just because this level is pretty much purely off-road, apart from the last bit of the level, and bashing into the walls so much, like the chassis of the car will eventually sort of give out a bit, and yeah, we just don't want to be losing any speed really. The other cars can like fairly easily catch up to us, so making sure that we're ahead of them, because if we accidentally get into the pack at all, we'll lose like a lot of endurance there as well. But yeah, no, for the most part, like staying away from the walls in this level is sort of like the biggest challenge of it, I would say. That and sort of where we're sort of like gliding off. Every now and then you'll hear me pressing the brake button. There's not really like a proper drift button in this game. Well, I guess there is, but like drifting in this game in general is just kind of weird. The only reason why you can do a sharp turn like that there is because the propellers are still out. For some reason, turning whilst the propellers are still out or not the propellers, the gliders. It's a lot easier than just sort of like regular turning. Yeah, the garbage truck is garbage. But like, to be fair, you customize your car however you want. You know, if I felt like it, I could buy the garbage truck right now. But unfortunately, the run is kind of tight on money, so can't be doing that, unfortunately. I might be able to get away with not pitting this level, to be honest. Obviously, the fact that our tyres are red is not the greatest thing. But pretty much the only reason why we would want to pit is because of our chassis being in a really rough condition. If we're like at the point where we're losing speed because of our endurance, that's when we like start fixing that up. So we might be able to just get through this cup without like touching the pit stop once, but we'll see. Especially because of these tunnels. Using manual as well. I should have said this earlier when I was buying the parts, but for some reason using a manual gearbox in this game makes it so that your top speed is faster. Sort of like a weird thing to program in, I feel like, but to be honest, manual would be probably preferred anyways, even if the top speed wasn't a thing, just so that we could control sort of like how much we're accelerating off. For the most part, we don't ever really need to like drop our gearbox unless if it goes out of the red zone. But yeah, I will occasionally just like drop it now and then just to get better control. Slower the gear as well, feels like better the handling. Yeah, so we got smoke behind us now, which means technically we're not going to be reaching top speed. But it's fine, we're very close to the end of the race anyways. I'd say this race though is sort of like a taster of what the last Grand Prix is going to look like. It's very awkward. Yeah, games always sort of like prefer people to use manual. Alright, so next level coming out. Oh, HG circuit. Okay. HG circuit isn't too bad. There's sort of one turn in level where like you don't really want to spin out at all. It's kind of hard not to, but I'll try my best to actually go through it fast. We still won't have any issue really of the other CPUs catching up at this stage. But I would say sort of like difficult part of the run is starting now, where like most of the time save is. Like in the record run, it's probably like from here onwards, I'd say. Obviously, don't want to be touched at all by the other cars during the starting bit of this, but we can get past them fairly easily. We do get to a point where we lap them again, but they shouldn't be an issue whilst we lap them. Levels do have shortcuts in them sometimes, so where I just went through now technically isn't the like intended way to go. It's meant to be sort of hidden. But to be honest, most of the shortcuts in this game, it's sort of like debatable whether they're fast or not. During the Steam level of the first Grand Prix, at the very last level we did, there's a shortcut there that I could probably show off later on as well, just for showing off showcase. Or showing off purposes, I should say. Where it's like an alternative route that like is made to look faster, but isn't always necessarily faster. Next level as well has like a secret bit underwater, but like the angle that you come back onto the road is so awkward that I wouldn't really consider it fast. But this is literally just kind of turn earlier, so might as well always just take it. Those wheels. But yeah, no. For this level, it's just pretty much basic on-road driving. Fairly short time. It was the race that we did during our licenses as well. Sadly, we don't drive on the off-course track that we did in licenses. That's like accessible in other races in this game. But I suppose because of it not being that long, developers decided not to make it like a actual Grand Prix race. Instead, just opting it to be sort of like special races instead. Got a lot of waiting now. I do really like the decals that you can get for some of the cars in this game as well. Obviously they provide no actual benefits for like going fast, but like they try to develop like the CPU in this game to make it so that like the cars that like have nice decals are like the ones that are the faster cars. Not always the case. Sometimes you will notice sort of like a sports car actually coming in sixth. It's just the way the CPU act in this. But in the last Grand Prix, it's all very much serious racing then. Like everyone has special decals except for us, which is unfortunate. You can also see on our car right now that like it has dirt. It's meant to be dirt, although it just looks off color at the moment. During casual, man, okay, that's gonna be rough. During casual gameplay, it's a really weird mechanic where if your car's dirty, you can't upgrade it. So we don't have that issue because after every Grand Prix, the game like auto washes our car for us, which is very nice of them. But yeah, it's a weird mechanic running in the background whilst racing in this game. The game will just randomly lock you out of upgrading your vehicle until you've washed your car. Make sure to keep up with car hygiene, very important. So, like the level in the earlier Grand Prix, like how you dive on this is kind of pretty important, especially for going fast. If you dive just right, you can kind of like bounce on the ground for a fair bit, and like not lose like too much speed at all. But this level is very rough to do it in a fast time. Theoretically, I feel like you could probably beat this level in like 4 minutes 10 seconds if you was like really good. It's just so hard to get like a good dive because you kind of want to be sort of like as tight as possible to the wall. So far I've got nothing but bad dives, but yeah, this is very much like one of the high skill level races in the game. And it only gets worse, like the more you race in this level. Like handling gets a lot more rough, so you start slowing down more. Although saying that, because you have less traction, the more worn out your tyres are, the less speed you will actually lose in the water. So it's not exactly like pitting would be sort of like a good thing for this level anyways. I'm just sick on gear 2, I think. Yeah. But yeah, it gets very sort of like micro-managey, like towards the later races. We will be having to pit soon. Not in this race or the next, but it's not fun when you have to. That's rough, actually. I was going to say it was okay, but it wasn't. Luckily, we're out of the race now anyways. Probably going to be getting like a 4:35 in this. No, it's not that bad, actually. But yeah, this level's a pain. I probably could have done with like a bit of practice before the run in this level, but like even if you practice it a bunch, it's always going to go rough in terms of speed. You can see the other cars as well, they have propellers. The speed issue under the water wouldn't be so bad if we had one of them parts, but obviously because we don't want to spend a bunch of time doing sort of sprint races just to get money for it, we kind of just skip out on that part. It's not too necessary. It's really only this race and one other that it really has any use. But yeah, no, it would have been nice to have if we could afford it, sort of thing. Last race of this Grand Prix, though. It's a nice evening version of the sand level that was in last Grand Prix. And this one does have like a section where like I can kind of lose the race if I'm not careful, sort of thing. It's the other level that we take a shortcut, but I've messed it up. So ideally you just want to go like straight into that shortcut without sort of like losing any speed. Be a little difficult to make up time compared to the other races, but missing it the once isn't too bad. It obviously gets harder to hit the shortcut, like the worse the tires get, but it should be fine. If I just focus up, it'll be alright. Plus the CPU in this also like spread out quite a bit. I have no idea why, but okay, that wasn't good, but like it's passable. It won't lose me my position. And even like hitting the shortcut like that is still faster than the intended route, just because the like surface of the intended route being off-road would be like constantly stuck onto the wall essentially, which would eventually wear out our chassis. Whereas taking that turn there is pretty straight leaving out of the shortcut, so you don't need to worry about like losing control and hitting into any walls. Also, you have no worries about the other racers actually crashing into you as well, which helps a fair bit. Ah, that was good. That was good. But yeah, no, this might be the first time I might not get first. Depends how the rest of the race goes, but yeah, hitting that shortcut is fairly important. Even if I do lose to this racer, it doesn't matter too much because of getting first place in every other race. You don't get like any extra bonus for like getting first every single time. Would be nice if that was the case, but yeah, for the most part, as long as you get like first in every single race, eesh. As long as you get first in every other race, you shouldn't have any issue with completing a Grand Prix. Obviously, completing all the Grand Prix is important for like completing the run. But it's like not the end of the world too much. Like if you somehow like fluff up like one of the earlier races, it should be fine. It's only tough just because of the controls. Obviously our tires are like slipping quite a fair bit. But like, you know, if you got a good setup for it, it should be fine. It's just very easy to sort of forget the setup. I kind of use the signs in the background of the level as a visual cue of when I need to like start tapping the drift button. It's not a perfect visual cue, but still got first place. That's nice. But yeah, that's the second Grand Prix. Just gotta wait for all the others now.
We're fairly close to finishing that one. Surprise.
Yeah. Actual time-wise, it was pretty bad. Like, you lose, I want to say, about 4 seconds every time you missed a shortcut. Like, the best I've done that race was a... I can read it here, actually. 4:03, and that was like a 4:20 something, I think. So lots of time saved that could have been had there, but it's nothing that will stop us from continuing the run, luckily. So just need to get ready for the last Grand Prix now. Head into the shop, get ourselves a new engine. And now we need to sell some of the parts that we've actually been buying. Reason being is we want to be able to afford one last tune-up. Conveniently named the final tune-up. It's basically a better version of the tune-up that we've been getting for the other Grand Prix. And yeah, the boost that we get from doing like the more expensive tune-up will hopefully get us through the last few races fairly easily. Our engine now is just way better. We'll have a lot faster acceleration, which for the last few tracks of the game is very much needed, because like for this level, if you look at the mini-map, the turns in this is kind of ridiculous. Yeah, so obviously this is a different version of the Asian town level we was doing earlier in the run. It's called Asian Long, this level, but I swear it is actually like shorter than the other one. And it is a fairly fun level until your tires give out.
That's about 2 laps then.
2 laps.
That's what we could say. So that's about 2 laps with the tires. I'm guessing before tires give out.
Oh, yeah. For the tires giving out on this level, we want to be pretty careful as well. Yeah. Yeah, I said earlier in the run that like usually we only like go pit stop for if our chassis is like being up. Thinking about it, this level is kind of the exception, because like you can tell by the way I'm driving now, like the tires burning out does like affect you quite a bit. The like drastic turns doesn't actually affect the tires durability, I don't think. But obviously very important for this level. So going into this bit, we'll just reset our car's endurance, make us green again, giving us full control of the car again, which is nice. I should also mention the tune-ups. They help so much with the tire controls as well. For some reason, it sort of like improves like off-road and on-road grip by a fair bit, which considering there's like not many tires that are like good universally for like any level, having sort of like the set of tires we have right now, which are like good on road, okay-ish on off-road, it sort of like really helps the tires. Like, even though it's just a small boost, it's like fairly noticeable if you was to try and do this race without the tune-up compared to, you know, with it. But yeah, I want to say this is the most turn-intensive level. Certainly goes by like the quickest, feels like. But that wasn't too far off my gold. Wow. Trying to think if we've lapped the guys. Now they'll be finishing fairly soon, luckily. This is where the break's really appreciated. Like,
Oh, did I just see a car in there with like flames and stuff? It looked like something off Wacky Races, that. I actually did. I saw that. I was like, wait, that's like Muttley in this race.
there is a car in this that have sort of like flamish effects. Unfortunately, I don't think any of them do blow up flame. But yeah, it is very cool looking. You unlock the car like that as well. Sometimes you don't get the decals for them, but I'm pretty sure that one just arrives like that. This level is hard. So I'm going to need to focus on this one. Endurance, again, very annoying in this level, because the less endurance you have, the harder it will be to control, but also you kind of want like low tires for this water section here. These guys are going to be pretty much ahead of us during the whole time, unless if we can somehow sneak up in front of them. If I get first place in this race, it'll be a miracle, but this race is an absolute pain. Because they're constantly on your tail. So you can't hear them now, but they are absolutely still right behind us. Any little bit of a mistake will kind of join you back into the packs, and yeah, could potentially like cost the race. Obviously, not an issue if you do lose the race. But okay, that's fine. That last bit of the level where there's sort of like ditches you can fall into, there's usually an ice shard down there where if you crash into it, you lose a bunch of speed, your chassis gets hit. It's really not nice. But it looks like one of the other CPUs have crashed into the icicle that you would usually crash into. So that does make that route a little bit safe now. I think I can like just comfortably fall down there. Because again, being like on road sort of is the fastest sort of thing. You don't really want to be in the air too much unless if it's in water. But yeah, they are still on my tail. So this race does get fairly stressful. But yeah.
Understandable why you're concentrating so much. I understand that one.
Like the jumping snowman. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Luckily, if they sort of like land on your car, they don't actually have any hit collisions, so they can't mess us up, luckily. If I mess up this race, it's because I'm bad. But it looks like I'm going to get first. So...
Soundtrack's cute. Works for the game. I think I've listened to the soundtrack whilst I've been playing. It's nice mix for a game like this. It works.
No, the soundtrack is
It's
really good. I've actually heard like music from this game being played in like random YouTube videos that like have nothing to do with racing games. So like some people know of the soundtrack and like definitely like it. But yeah, no. It's a fairly short soundtrack. There's only like 25 tracks to it, but they are all really good. I really like it a lot. I'll show off the shortcut on this level. It's in this steamy bit. It like makes you go through a vent, and then you just pop out on the road like that. The other runner that runs this, that's kind of like made the route for the game. Like a lot of the things I'm showing off is basically his work. He's convinced it's faster. I'm not, and I'm pretty sure my gold is better than his. So yeah, we need to do like proper comparisons of it. But this level obviously being the alternate version of the Gran Turismo track, as we discussed earlier. It's another level where I sort of debate whether if hitting is worth it. Because having handling is nice for like some sections of this, but it doesn't feel absolutely necessary. But yeah, no, this part of the run is like where you start doubting yourself a lot. Luckily, though, this isn't sort of like a race that we would likely lose if we do make a mistake on. The guys, the other CPU, they're way behind us, so it's a nice break in that regard. Pretty sure all the other races... Actually, no, the second to last race isn't too bad in that aspect either. But yeah, the CPUs are actually properly racing against you in this Grand Prix, especially with the current route that we're doing. And even like casually, if you sort of like kit out with like the best car parts and all that, it's not exactly like, you know, a breeze this section. You'll have like higher top speed and all that, but it's definitely still hard this Grand Prix. But the difficulty all comes down to like the controls and endurance managing in this. Because obviously I'm in the red now, like sliding all over the place, but yeah, it's fairly okay for the most part.
Just a kind of quickly mention, but whilst we've got a few minutes, if that's okay, Rui.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to give you guys a heads up, so just to mention that you are watching McRaeathon, sent a blast from the past. Through the power of the internet, we're bringing our local marathon to your guys' homes through the power of the internet. One of the main things to mention about this is part 2 to the original one, which unfortunately got cancelled a bit earlier. However, if you want to catch any of the previous runs, if you're watching this on Twitch or later watching it back on YouTube, we do have a collection on Twitch, and there'll be a playlist on YouTube for all of the videos for every run in this event. Due to people's availabilities and things like that, we've had to move runs around and things like that. So as of this run, we have, after the Choro Q run, we do have Lego Racers 100%, which is being performed by Jamie Boy, with tomorrow's runs being Ridge Racer Type 4, Cruising USA, Tokyo Extreme Racer, Carmageddon 64, and Destruction Derby 2. So we do have a fair few runs coming up over today and tomorrow. And just want to obviously mention thank you very much for your continued support to watch the event, regardless of the situation. And that your support means a lot to us in general, because of the fact of without this, these racing games could not be shown off, and obviously a big mention goes out to all of our runners. So yeah, thank you very much. Back to you, Rui.
Yeah, especially this game. I'm not too sure if I could convince many people to show this one off, but I'm really glad that getting to show this off here. For the guys that like have car knowledge, could tell that it's probably a bit of a I don't know the word to describe it, like seeing the different car models and whatnot must be exciting for you guys, and I'm glad for that, to be honest. I think this game has like a lot of potential to offer out. So it's great to be able to show it off, to be honest. This level has elephants. It's like the only case you really see animals in this game. And crows, actually. There's just some crows there. Yeah, this level is sort of like another one where like losing is a possibility, though it's very uncommon. For the most part, we like make up time in this maze section here. And like we want to keep an eye on our chassis. If that goes into sort of like the orange red, or you see smoke billowing out of our car, it means we're losing speed, which is not good. But I think past like the beginning section of this level, it's not too bad. You can sort of like hit the walls during this section here without being too worried of the chassis being up too much. But yeah, it's this level, next level, it's all very nerve-wracking this last GP, just because of what we pick up route-wise. It just makes sense though with like, you know, going fast. Like the more races you put in to like get extra parts, like the more time you're going to be spending. But I think for anyone's ever like interested in sort of like checking out this game, don't feel like too like bad if you can't really like complete the races with the loadout that like me and the other runners go for. Because like for the most part, I'm used to this loadout. So we could always like invent another loadout where handling is much worse, but technically we get to the races quicker, and like that would technically be the newest optimal route. It isn't always worth doing. You do really wish you had like a better car during these races, but work with what you got. It's the way to go. The AI as well, by the way. I'm pretty sure they just don't care about their own sort of tire endurance or their engine endurance, actually. You can like watch an AI drive like billowing out a bunch of smoke. They won't actually ever drop in speed though. Or at least if they do, it's not really noticeable. But, you know. Helps to know the tracks too. It does help to know the tracks. But, Yeah, for the most part, this track just has like really awkward terrain. I was saying earlier, like want to be on the ground as much as possible, but like you can see how much I'm bouncing around and like how much speed I'm losing because of it. Not just speed, control as well. Yeah, it is a difficult level. They are fairly close behind, but like not too much so. A lot of the spacing out with the CPUs will be sort of like the direction they take during the temple bit. Always want to go right side just because it's a shorter distance. Whenever you see like CPU take the left side even, you can see that they're like behind the pack at that point. And yeah, I don't think it's so much the fact though that like if they were to always take the left side that they would be faster than us. But yeah. Yeah, the tracks are the difficulty. That is the thing, mostly. Got something in my mind. They also get very much longer as well, so the endurance meter like matters more because you're driving more in these levels as well. Next level being the longest track in the game. Yeah, it gets pretty difficult. With these breaks though, it's not too bad, like mentally wise, but yeah. I like the music in this level as well. It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of the surfaces as well, like the walls, some hurt the chassis more than others. I'm not 100% certain on that. It's just a feeling, but this level speaks for itself. It is kind of a clown fest. It has clown music in the background, and like the atmosphere of this level is also very weird, I'd say. It's meant to be like a theme park, but there's like shopping mall and everything. And the signs in the background of this level as well is actually got references to other games in the Choro Q franchise. There's like things in them games can like work for companies, and like some of the companies, like I'm pretty sure, are like on the walls of this level, which is pretty funny to see. Aesthetically, I do like the look of this level, but it is just so damn long to get through.
Now, I'll be honest, this is a level that's definitely ripped out of Crash Team Racing if ever I saw one.
Yeah, probably.
It could fit right in. Either that or Mario Kart. It'd fit in a kart race again, this track easy.
Yeah, prototype of Coconut Mall. Can definitely see it.
Just need the music now.
Yeah. Although I must say, the music in this level is like the only track I don't like in this game. Doesn't help that it's so short. And every lap takes like a good minute and a bit. It's pretty rough. Sonic Racing. Maybe. I'll tell you what, it does kind of look like one of the bonus levels in Sonic Riders. So I can take that, to be honest. That's fair enough. Handling wise in this level, by the way, you'll notice that it's just filled with a bunch of like ramps, awkward turns. It's quite a time. Like, luckily we don't have to worry about losing this race like at all, especially since we have the gliders. If we didn't have the glider, under this bit here is like a water tunnel you have to drive through instead, and obviously with like no propeller or anything, that water tunnel takes forever to get through. So you can see like on the mini map the garbage truck has to take that route, which sucks for him. But yeah, we're starting to billow out smoke now, sort of just how much we've touched walls. So we will try and take a pit stop. Luckily, never mind. This game and its collision is a little bit weird at times, and that pit stop usually can rely on the fact of there being an invisible wall that kind of pushes you into the pit stop. Sadly, that time it didn't though. Hopefully it won't affect things too much. But obviously it's not ideal to be running on a red chassis. It's not ideal to be running on red tyres either. It's nothing that will cost the race, but yeah, this level's so unbearable.
It definitely sounds like Beethoven music.
Yeah.
You know,
It absolutely has that feel, yep. We're close to the last level though, which is just an absolute vibe. It's just the same track that we've been hearing at the end of every GP. I've missed it again. It's fine. Yeah, I can't wait for the next level. It'll be so much better than this. Yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, usually, the last level of this Grand Prix is kind of weird. It's the only level in the game that has, like, 2 different tracks, in the, like, sprint mode. But because it's the last race of the Grand Prix, it gets, like, overridden with, like, the normal Grand Prix racing track, which sounds good. But yeah, technically we never actually hear the proper music track for the last level in this game, unless if you know, like, do the level in sprint mode. Also, I suppose this shows off kind of like the bad situation where, like, it takes forever for us to get to top speed whilst our car's like this. No point pitting now that we're pretty much close to finishing the race, but yeah, no, like, ideally you just don't want to touch the walls at all, especially during the last Grand Prix. Because not just for, like, losing speed to, like, you know, general physics, but because the game, like, punishes hard very much during the last Grand Prix of making you go a lot slower. Luckily, because we got first place in the ice level, we won't have the issue of being unable to, like, finish the run technically. We can get last place in the next race and still be finishing the run. But yeah, it's just a thing that makes running this a little bit awkward. That and the fact that can't really rely on RTA too much. I'm imagining, I don't have a timer in front of me at the moment, but I'm imagining I am pretty much on time for the RTA timing, but all the timing is done loadless sort of thing. We take the like total time at the end of every race and sort of like add that up instead. Or at least I do that when sort of like mid running. When actually verifying the runs, we just sort of like take out all the time that we're like waiting on the other races, all the time during load screens. We still have menuing because menuing is important in this, but yeah. So this level's pain, mostly just for that beginning bit. They'll be on my tail for quite a long while, up until I get out of this section of the tunnels. But yeah, this level, it's a pretty difficult last race to end on. I wouldn't say it's as difficult as the ice level. I think both me and Xana would agree that like this, or the ice level, was the worst, followed by this level. So obviously we're ahead of the pack, but we really don't want to be touching walls at all, and preferably we want to just hit the pit stop once. Obviously if we have to hit it twice, it just is what it is. But yeah, for the most part, all the speed that we get in this level will be in the tunnel bit. I didn't really do too well in the tunnel because I ended up drifting at sort of like the start of it, where you kind of want to get like, you want to carry out the speed that you got going down the incline. That's a bit rough as well. That is very rough. That's very rough. That's very rough. Okay. It's fine. We can still get ahead of them. But yeah, I suppose that section as well, sort of the gliding bit, you want to make sure that you're getting a good turn for that. I'm not going to worry too much about chassis here, just because going down the inclines will give us enough speed as it is. If these guys go ahead, that's fine. We'll probably just catch up to them later. But yeah, we're definitely going to need to make a pit stop this lap. Get out of my... Okay. Yeah, not ideal. Getting crashed into that like that. Not that. Oh man, this race is just going so poorly. But yeah. To be honest, getting such a like lucky ice level earlier, it kind of like only feels right that I get unlucky in this section now. I will have to pit again just because you can't really run with a red chassis. It's just not good. And again, I don't think first place is exactly out of reach. And this level is a lot more forgiving in terms of like mistakes, I guess, in terms of positioning. Because all the CPU are a lot more spread out. But yeah, I'll just quickly get a pit stop here. Man, I'm just getting really bad turns there. We might just maintain third place for the rest of the race, most likely. Which is fine.
I think it's points in it. Points mean prizes, right?
Yeah. Because of like having like a lot more points than the other races, though, like it's literally impossible to like fail the Grand Prix now. Sadly, that doesn't mean we can just skip out on this race. If we could, that would be amazing. But yeah, it's going okay though. I might get first still. But yeah, no, it's really a battle against the controls with this. The game is really simple enough, especially like when you understand sort of like what parts do what you need to buy for the run and everything like that. Bugger. But yeah, no. It did take me a while to actually have a completed run of this game when like first playing it, just because like last Grand Prix, the difficult spike, it can be really painful. Like first time doing a run of this, I reset on this level like 4 times, I think it was. But yeah, I think it's pretty much set for second place or third. Yeah, it's third. It's third. It's just unlucky that I got stuck behind the car there. But with that said, the run is essentially done now, but technically timing stops on when we get money. So, yeah, for the most part, this is Gadget Races, all GPs. There's a lot more to this game, but considering how long the category for just doing all GPs is, if we was to have a category of like 100%, it would probably take us like 8 hours probably. There's a lot to this game. But yeah, time ends there. And yeah, it's just credits now. Well, parade and then credits. It's been a pleasure running for you guys. And yeah.
There we go. 2:03:45 was the time in the end.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate to estimate. I think I gave it 2:05, right?
Yeah. I think I might have been a few seconds late, but overall, I think, yeah, not too bad. I think it was more like a 2:03:45 or something, but yeah. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's really hard for like a run for this to go wrong in terms of like showcasing. If I was to like add up the times of the actual races, I probably did very terribly. But I think it like shows the game off enough, and like the fact that the 2 awkward races wasn't an issue and that got to the credits, that's totally fine with me. The runs is completed. Sometimes you just don't get a completed run out, which is unfortunate, but yeah. Just hope everyone else enjoyed it though.
Yeah, it seems like it went down quite well. In chat, it seems like a lot of people like that. Did you guys enjoy that? I believe so. But I will just quickly give a few final thoughts as well, just before we go into an intermission. Well, first and foremost, actually, Rui, have you got any shout outs you want to give before we head on back to intermission?
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Xanagy, because basically without sort of like his work into sort of like making a route for this game probably wouldn't be very speedrunnable, just because it would get like very awkward trying to, you know, deal with routing and stuff. With that said though, just because there's a route for this game, if anyone is like ever interested to try and crack this game a little bit more, please go ahead for it. There was something weird that Gene found where you could get out of bounds in one of the levels, although it's not very replicable yet. But this game seems like has potential for like interesting runs. It's just right now just doesn't have that attention, but it's nice to be able to give it that attention tonight. So thank you everyone for watching. It's been great showing it off.
No worries. Thank you very much for showing it off. It was an enjoyable experience and definitely something different for my sake. I know that it's very much, yeah, the same cars, but when they're squished and diddy, it's nice to see something different.
Yeah.
Nice fun little gimmick. Quite nice. But let's quickly kind of close off the final few thoughts as well. Don't go anywhere. We do have another run coming up this evening, which is Lego Racers. It is the 100% category by Jamie Boy. Yeah, for now we're going to go to a quick intermission. Like I said, when we come back, we'll have Lego Racers. So, yeah, see you in a few.